Good morning and welcome to Eagle Technologies webinar this morning, Predicting, Not Just Detecting. My name is Harry Kohal. I'll be your presenter for today. I'm Vice President of Business Development at Eagle Technology, and I will be available for questions after this webinar. Today's webinar is not going to take you into the live system, but we're going to discuss some of the reasons why people use a CMMS and why it's important in today's world to have data. A little bit about Eagle Technology. Eagle has been in the enterprise asset management and CMMS, computerized maintenance management system marketplace since 1986. We have thousands of users worldwide. We're international partners in 34 countries, and we're available in an outstanding 27 languages. We've recently added Punji as one of the languages to our system. Using a maintenance system, a CMMS, could help you increase your overall efficiency by over 65%. We have had clients that have been able to actually outsource their staff to other companies. We've had clients who've been able to take on additional responsibilities without adding additional staff, and we've been able to had clients that have been able to get to predictive maintenance by getting data through a CMMS system. You can decrease downtime by up to 58% through the use of a CMMS tool. Knowing where your problems lie and addressing them through data is one of the ways that we will allow users to become more efficient using their system and increasing their overall productivity by up to 56%. These statistics don't come with just purchasing the system, obviously. You have to have processes and procedures in place, and you have to be able to collect and analyze the data that's going to give you solid information. One of the formulas I learned very early on in sales is that profit equals revenues minus expenses. And one of the things that our CMMS system helps identify is that if we can earn $1 more in profit by reducing our costs, it is easier than earning many more dollars in revenue to take to the profit line. We look at costs within our control, okay, versus the revenue controlled by others. And in controlling those costs, and we in turn help control profit through enhanced maintenance processes. You can't manage what you don't measure is an old adage, and a CMMS system helps you measure. It gives you data. Maintenance 101. Today, materials, the technology associated with materials, and the technology embedded in assets is changing constantly and becoming more sophisticated. We talk about the Internet of Things. Regulations. Industries are controlled by FDA, they're controlled by the USDA, they're controlled by the Environmental Protection Agency. There's lots of different regulations associated with your businesses depending on the particular location you're in, state, county, and the particular industry that you're in. You in fact may be regulated by multiple agencies for licensing and things like that. Keeping track of those and keeping the data necessary to show compliance with regulations is one of the things that a good CMMS system will provide. We need to track labor costs. One of the things that management likes to do is consider outsourcing maintenance. And unless we know specifically what it's costing us to do our jobs, what we are spending, and what exact things need to be done, you can't get an apples-to-apples comparison on outsourcing. So it's very important to be able to manage the costs, manage the functions that are being done, and show the value of those functions down to the detail level of when and why they're being done and the result of that effort. Sometimes we can over-maintain equipment, and other times we're under-maintaining. So to be able to show management the value of the services we're providing is absolutely, and capturing that data in a CMMS system is critical to our efforts. Sorry, just close this. Machine uptime. Everybody talks about, we need to keep the machines up and running because that gets product out the door. That's true. But if you don't sharpen your sword once in a while, the sword doesn't cut. In other words, we need to find the right point in time to make sure that the machines are maintained so that we can continue efficiently getting production out the door. A run to failure philosophy is fine if you have data to support that philosophy. The important thing today is to collect that data and find out if I don't maintain a machine in a specific time frame, it causes production problems, or if I do allow run to failure, this is the cost and downtime associated with that versus having to maintain it periodically. You can't make those decisions in today's world without quality data. We need to focus on occupant health and safety. Our employees are absolutely critical to our productivity. If we've got a sick environment that causes the employee not to be effective in their work environment, if we are not watching the safety aspects of our operation through the maintenance instructions, using things like lockout, tagout, and documenting them, making sure that we do our inspections on things like dock locks and levelers and so forth, we lose potential productivity. We also have to manage our outsourced maintenance just as if we were doing it ourselves, and we'll talk a little bit more about contractors doing work in our facilities in a little bit. We need to keep track of what do we have to maintain. Early on in my career, I went to a webinar or a seminar live in Chicago where a gentleman got up and indicated to the audience, he started his speech with, I have 832 windows, I have 7 roofs, I have 250 toilets, I have 300 urinals, and so on and so on. And he said, if you don't know what you have to maintain, how do you know what type of resources it's going to take to maintain those assets? That's something that stuck with me. And you too need to understand, what do I have to maintain, and what efforts or resources am I going to need to maintain those assets? And of course, capital planning. As assets age and need to be replaced, or as assets age and are costing us more money to maintain than it would take to replace with a new asset, and we'll talk about what are assets, or how much are we spending to maintain a specific asset. It'll be critical for us to be able to identify when should we plan replacement of an asset. So these are all things that a CMMS system the organization that you're with comply with. But what does it do for you? Well, it's going to categorize and measure asset life, number one. That's absolutely critical. We just talked about what if I'm spending more on maintenance than the asset would cost me brand new? Or what if I'm spending 50% of what the asset costs versus a brand new one? There's lots of different ways we have to measure this. We have to look at the energy consumption. We have to look at the time and effort of the maintenance staff to provide that, or the outsourced cost of parts and replacement parts and so forth, along with the availability of replacement parts for an older asset. So all of these things are reported in a CMMS system, very straightforward. We have to assess our risk. What's the risk of not maintaining this asset? School districts in particular are great for deferring roof replacement, okay? What would it cost you if the roof on your facility was at risk of failure? Could you run your production operation? Would your people be happy sitting under an open sky on a rainy day? I don't think so. So what's the risk of deferring? What's the cost of deferring? And based on data, you can formulate a strategy to make good business decisions. By documenting things that need to be done, sidewalk inspections on a building, dock lock inspections, fire extinguisher inspections, and so forth, you can protect your company from, I hate to say it, lawsuits, but outside exposure is a nice word, okay? The reality is that by having good documentation of the compliance efforts that you make, a CMMS system will help protect you should some incident arise. We also want to maximize the labor efforts of our employees. So by being able to effectively delegate work and make sure that they're not interrupted and that their work efforts are valued at the top, a CMMS system will help organize, manage, and report labor efforts by trade, by skill, and it will allow you as a manager or supervisor to make a determination: should this effort be outsourced? Would it be more cost effective for the company? Should we use an employee? Should we train an employee? Could we use a lower cost employee to do something like escorting a vendor in a secured area? Those are all things that, based on data, you can make good business decisions. We want to minimize energy consumption in our companies. You know, there's been a big focus in the last 5 years to reduce energy consumption. Well, if we've got equipment that's not maintained, air handlers where the filters aren't changed, they're going to consume more energy. So it's critical to make sure that good maintenance practices are put in place on our equipment to reduce energy consumption. It's not just about changing to LED lights. It's not just about getting the most energy efficient air handling unit or whatever. It includes running it effectively. We want to reduce the maintenance parts inventory. Some companies, some organizations have 0 parts and don't track parts at all. They leave that all to a contractor, which is just fine. But if your organization is one that has an inventory, what you need to do is reduce the parts on hand. You can identify your ABC parts in our systems and be able to identify those that are critical versus those that are not critical. You can set your min and max, your reorder points, and things like that. But most importantly, if you've got multiple locations, you want to be able to make sure that a seldom used part isn't stored in 15 locations across the country, when having one of those seldom used parts might suffice for the entire organization. And a CMMS is going to provide you key performance indicators. We have to make sure we know what we are measuring and why. And we need that data in easily to read format so that management, this information can be communicated effectively at all levels of the organization. So our CMMS system from Eagle will provide you those types of reporting information. So let's talk about assets. Assets, if you're a banker, have a different connotation than assets if you're in manufacturing or office building. Asset can be an air handling unit, it can be a CNC machine, it can be anything, okay? And our system allows you to categorize those assets. It allows you to keep history on parts usage, a bill of material, all the things you need to know about that specific piece of equipment. More importantly, things like warranty periods and maintenance schedules can be tied into the system so that you're getting the best bang for the buck out of that piece of equipment. Sorry about that. Parts inventory. If you do keep track of parts, okay? Parts can be very inexpensive, washers, nuts, and bolts, and they can be very, very expensive. Control panels, motors, things like that. Filters can get very expensive. And in fact, if you outsource a lot of your work, make sure that the contractor is changing the filters on the periodic basis that's required to maintain your equipment effectively. But how many motors do you want to keep on the shelf? If it's a small motor, that costs $5, that's one thing. But if it's a larger motor that costs $500 or $5,000 or $10,000, how many can you afford to keep in inventory? How many belts are you using? Are they being installed properly? Are you getting the proper life out of the belt? And, show a picture of light bulbs here today. Keeping track of what it costs to change a light bulb can justify the conversion potentially to LED lighting in an organization or more efficient lighting, right? Once you put a LED head in a parking lot, your maintenance costs for that LED parking lot light goes away because it lasts 5, 10, 15 years. We don't know because they haven't burned out yet. Versus using fluorescent lighting in your organization where bulbs burn out and people have to get ladders, the old proverbial, what does it cost to maintain or change a light bulb, right? Well, it depends on where it is. Do you need a man lift to get at it, or do you have to build scaffolding? Do you have the light bulb? What does the light bulb cost? And then how long does it take to build that scaffolding or get that particular man lift in place? Can you do it during the day, or does it have to be done on overtime at night? All of those factors come into play, and a CMMS system will help you record and capture the information that's necessary to say, this is what it's costing us to change a light bulb in the atrium or in this office or in this manufacturing. And there are different costs. So it's critical to be able to capture those pieces of information. Let's talk about contractors. A lot of you do outsource a lot of services and things, okay, whether it's your HVAC equipment, your elevators, escalators, people moving equipment in airports, fire system maintenance, and things like that. I have clients that manage their entire facility through outsourced services, and there's nothing wrong with that. What's critical is to know specifically what is that contractor expected to do, what did they do, and what is it costing me? And would it be more cost effective to have talent in-house to be able to do that if I could get it? or is this something that I'm best left to the contractor because of their expertise, elevators, escalators, fire, and not have to worry about it, but be able to report compliance issues and things like that through all the data I collect in a CMMS that the contractor can provide me. So today, management is all about data. You know, how many PMs did I do? How many hours did that take? How many are overdue? How many did I complete? How many hours did that, how many breakdowns did I have last month? Okay, and a CMMS is going to report that type of information to you. More importantly, we can put it into different types of formats so that it's visual, right? What percentage of my work is mechanical? Well, it becomes obvious here that it's almost 46% roughly. Where do my people spend all their time? Well, do they inventory management or HVAC work or housekeeping, groundskeeping, fire systems? How do they spend their time? And be able to show effectively to management exactly what the value of the maintenance operation is. So Eagle's CMMS system, Proteus MMX, is the tool that's going to give you data to measure and manage. So in summary, you can't manage what you don't measure. Putting in place a CMMS system from Eagle will help you and your organization more effectively manage and get data to make good business decisions. Our next webinar will be a live presentation of our system, and if you'd like to sign up for that, you can contact us directly, or you'll be able to, you'll probably get, if you're on this one, you'll get an email announcing the next webinar, and we'll be happy to show you some of the details of how Proteus MMX from Eagle Technology can help you and help your organization. So I thank you for your time today. If you have any questions, you can raise your hand in online poll here, and I'd be happy to answer questions for the audience. If you'd like a personalized demo of Proteus MMX, you can email us at sales@eaglecmms.com or call us at 262-241-3845, and we'd be happy to set up a one-on-one presentation for you. One of the things that Eagle prides itself in is helping the client become successful in the implementation of their CMMS and helping the client get the kind of data to be able to measure and manage. So without any further questions, I'm going to end the presentation, the webinar today. I thank you very, very much for your attendance and your attention, and have a great day, and we look forward to talking to you in the near future. Thank you very much.